The silence you think is strength might actually be shaking her far more deeply than any heated words or arguments ever could. And trust me, what I'm about to reveal toward the end of this could completely flip the way you view your own restraint and composure forever. If you're the kind of man who values real depth over cheap drama, genuine strength over empty noise, and meaningful growth over superficial games, then hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel. Not just for my sake, but so you never miss these raw, honest conversations that most men were never taught growing up, the ones that actually move the needle in your life and relationships. Seriously, tap subscribe so these truths keep landing in your feed when you need them most. All right, let's dive in deep. When you choose silence, especially right after a conflict, some emotional distance, a disappointment, or even just a moment where things felt off, you're convinced in your mind that you're doing the right thing. You're protecting your dignity, holding your frame, choosing composure instead of chaos, self-respect instead of chasing or begging, and in a lot of situations, brother, that really is growth. That's maturity showing up. You're not exploding, you're not reacting impulsively, you're not feeding into drama that drains everyone involved. You're stepping back to breathe, to regain control, to focus on yourself. That's powerful. That's what high-value men do. But here's the hard truth that so many guys completely miss, the part that blindsides even the most stoic among us. Your silence doesn't register in her nervous system the same way it does in yours. To you, that quiet feels like peace. I'm done arguing. I need space. I'm not going to lower myself. I'm prioritizing my own peace and growth. It feels dignified, controlled, even noble. But to her, often it lands very differently. It can feel like emotional abandonment out of nowhere. Like suddenly she doesn't matter anymore. Like she's lost you. Like the man who once made her feel seen, secure, and valued has just vanished without explanation. And that contrast hits hard because women are wired to track emotional connection as a primary measure of safety in a relationship. When that connection disappears, especially if it was consistent before, it's not just noticed. It's felt in the body like a threat. And here's where it gets even more layered. Her response to that perceived abandonment doesn't always look like what you expect. It doesn't always come as tears streaming down her face, desperate texts begging for clarity, long apologies, or dramatic outbursts. Sometimes it shows up as pride kicking in hard. She pulls back, acts unbothered, matches your silence with her own wall. Not because she's truly indifferent, but because she's overwhelmed, protecting herself from more potential rejection or pain. She might go cold, post upbeat stories, laugh with friends, dive into work or hobbies, all while inside her mind is racing. What did I do? Why is he gone? Does he even care anymore? High-value men often underestimate just how much emotional weight their presence and sudden absence carries. You think because you're calm and quiet, you're not affecting her. Because you're not yelling or chasing, you're not being powerful in the moment. But emotional restraint, when it's a shift from previous warmth, can actually be louder than any shouting match. Your withdrawal of attention, affection, communication, especially if she once felt safe relying on it, creates a vacuum. That vacuum is noticeable. Your past consistency built emotional safety. Your silence shatters it in ways words alone never could. This is where true stoicism gets misunderstood in modern relationships. Real stoicism isn't about emotional disappearance or vanishing acts. It's about emotional mastery and control, feeling the storm inside, but choosing not to let it dictate your actions. There's a massive difference. When your silence comes from genuine clarity, self-respect, and boundaries, it carries real weight and can even command respect over time. But when it's rooted in wounded pride, ego, unresolved anger, or passive punishment, it just breeds confusion, resentment, and distance. Women tend to be incredibly attuned to emotional shifts, not because they're weak or overly sensitive, but because connection and security often form the foundation of how they gauge relational health. If you were once present, expressive, engaged, affectionate, and now you're distant and closed off, that contrast feels intense. It's like the rug got pulled out from under her emotionally. And the most dangerous assumption a man can make in this space If she's not reaching out, she must not care. She must be fine. She's moved on. Brother, sometimes the opposite is true. She's hurting far more than you realize, but she's also shielding herself fiercely from further rejection. Silence creates space, yes, and space creates reflection. That reflection can spark longing, nostalgia for what was good, even admiration for your boundaries. Or it can lead to detachment, resentment, and eventual emotional checkout. Which path it takes depends entirely on what your silence truly represents to her: intentional strength or cold indifference. Before you convince yourself you're the only one carrying the weight of this distance, understand this deeper layer. A woman who once truly valued you doesn't flip to complete emotional neutrality overnight. She feels the shift. She questions it. She replays old conversations in her head at 2 a.m. She wonders exactly when the warmth faded and why. But she may never voice it directly because your silence doesn't just test her feelings, it tests her pride too. Admitting vulnerability when you're not meeting her halfway feels risky, so she holds it in, processes it alone, and sometimes masks it so well that you mistake it for indifference. Now let's go even deeper into what her hurt actually looks like. Not the surface stuff she might say or show, but the undercurrent she feels when you're not looking. When you step back and choose silence over arguing or chasing, you might believe you're generously giving her space to think. And in healthy doses, space can be good, but what she often experiences in that space isn't peaceful clarity, it's heavy uncertainty. Uncertainty that sits like a weight on her chest. It disorients her. It activates those ancient parts of the brain wired to scan for loss, danger, abandonment, rejection. Most men assume emotions are obvious. Anger flares up, sadness shows in tears, frustration comes out in words. But her hurt can be quieter, more insidious. Restlessness that won't let her sleep, overthinking loops that exhaust her, subtle tests to see if you'll crack, or even emotional pulling away without a single word spoken. She might laugh at memes, be polite in group chats, go about her routine like everything's normal, but inside, she's replaying every last interaction, dissecting your tone, wondering if she pushed too far, if she's not enough, if the connection she thought was solid was just an illusion. Here's the real paradox that blows minds when guys finally see it. Your silence, your calm restraint, becomes both the source of her pain and the trigger for her deepest reflection. In that quiet, she's forced to process your true value, your consistency before, your boundaries now, your refusal to bend to drama or chase validation. She senses you're not easily swayed, not desperate, not reactive, and that can stir up a wild mix inside her: admiration for your strength, regret for any part she played in the distance, longing for the security she once felt, and yes, real emotional hurt from the sudden void. This is exactly why high-value men get so misunderstood. Society tells us strength means speaking louder, dominating conversations, asserting control through force or volume. But your real power lives in what you refuse to say, in your quiet, in your restraint, in not feeding the chaos. That quiet teaches her things she might resist at first but can't ignore forever: that you prioritize yourself, that you have non-negotiable limits, that your dignity isn't up for bargain. But make no mistake, this is delicate territory. Silence can be profoundly powerful when done right, but it can also be misread catastrophically. If your withdrawal feels cold, punitive, or ego-driven, it breeds resentment instead of respect. If it's avoidance rather than intentional clarity, it confuses her instead of guiding her toward growth. Emotional intelligence is what separates creating healthy space for both of you to level up versus accidentally creating permanent detachment. And one core truth you must internalize: when a woman is quietly hurting from your silence, it doesn't guarantee she'll chase, apologize, or reach out first. Often she'll retreat deeper, protect her heart, try to regain internal balance on her own. She might look indifferent on the outside while feeling deeply unsettled within. So if your aim is to embody true high value, stoic, composed, impactful without being cruel, your silence has to be intentional. It has to mean something beyond just, "I'm not talking." It has to carry the weight of a man rooted in himself, clear on his worth, aware of his influence. And here's the subtle insight so many men overlook entirely. When your silence is rooted in real emotional clarity and self-mastery, it's teaching her more than 1,000 conversations ever could. She's learning about healthy boundaries. She's learning what genuine respect looks like. She's learning, whether she admits it out loud or not, the real cost of losing a man who refuses to compromise his integrity for temporary emotional convenience or drama. Her hurt is real, brother. Your silence becomes the mirror she's forced to look into, and the reflection she sees there can either draw her toward deeper understanding, self-reflection, and reconnection, or push her toward permanent distance. The direction depends on how intentionally you wield that silence. If this is resonating, if you're starting to see how much deeper this goes than just going silent to win, then smash that like button again to show the algorithm this matters. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway so far, and make sure you're subscribed so you catch the next part where we unpack even more layers, including why this silence often hits harder than confrontation and how to use it without accidentally destroying what you value. These conversations change perspectives, man. Don't miss the rest. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Let's keep building this together.